Fascicle 2, translated by the Kuchian Tripitaka master Kumarajiva during the later Qin dynasty. At that time, Sariputra addressed the Buddha, saying, "World-honored one, never before has anything like this occurred. You are now preaching the Surangama Samadhi, but Mara has not come to disturb us." The Buddha told Sariputra, "Do you wish to see what is troubling Mara?" Sariputra said, "I would like to see that." The Buddha then emitted from the space between his eyebrows a light showing the form of a giant person. The entire assembly saw Mara bound up 5 times over, i.e. with his 2 arms, 2 legs, and head bound, and unable to escape. The Buddha asked Sariputra, "Do you see Mara bound up 5 times over?" Sariputra said, "I see him. Who has bound up Mara?" The Buddha said this was done by the divine power of the Surangama Samadhi. When the Surangama Samadhi is preached in any Buddha land, any demons there with an evil wish to impede its preaching will perceive their own bodies to be bound up 5 times over through the divine power of the Surangama Samadhi and the Buddhas. Sariputra, wherever the Surangama Samadhi is preached, whether I am in the world or after my extinction, any demons or followers of the demons and anyone else harboring evil intentions will be bound up 5 times over by the divine power of the Surangama Samadhi. At that time, the gods, dragons, yakshas, and gandharvas in that assembly addressed the Buddha, saying, "World-honored one, our minds are without doubt regarding this Samadhi. We will not impede its preaching because we do not wish to see ourselves bound up 5 times over. World-honored one, because of our reverence for this Samadhi, we will all go and protect anyone who preaches this Dharma, so that the Samadhi will then inspire them to generate the thought of the world-honored one." The Buddha told the gods and dragons, "Because you have pledged to do this, you will attain emancipation from the 12 bonds of mistaken views." What are these 12? These are the 12, the bond of the view of self, the bond of the view of sentient beings, the bond of the view of lifespan, the bond of the view of person, the bond of the view of eradication, the bond of the view of permanence, the bond of the view of personal action, the bond of the view of personal possession, the bond of the view of being, the bond of the view of non-being, the bond of the view of discrimination into this and that, and the bond of the view of the dharmas. You should understand that any sentient being who wishes out of anger to damage the Buddhist Dharma resides in these 12 bonds of mistaken views. If a person has faithful understanding and is obedient and not contrary to the Dharma, he will attain emancipation from these 12 bonds of mistaken views. Sariputra then addressed the Buddha, saying, "World-honored one, is Mara now able to hear you preach the name of the Surangama Samadhi as we can?" The Buddha said, "He can hear it as well as you can, but he is unable to come to this assembly because he is bound up." Sariputra said, "Why do you not use your divine power to make Mara unable to hear the preaching of the name of the Surangama Samadhi?" The Buddha said, "Cease. Do not say that, even if worlds as numerous as the sands of the river Ganges were filled with great fire, anyone hearing the preaching of the Surangama Samadhi should be able to escape. Why? I say that merely to hear the preaching of the Surangama Samadhi is to attain great benefit, superior to attaining the 4 states of dhyana or the 4 Brahma Viharas. Sariputra, because Mara can hear the preaching of the name of the Surangama Samadhi, there will now form the causes and conditions for his escape from the entire predicament, lit all the affairs, of being Mara. If he is bound up but able to hear, he should be able to attain emancipation from the 12 bonds of mistaken views. It is for this reason, Sariputra, that evil persons of heterodox views, who have entered the web of demons, should be able to hear this Surangama Samadhi. How much more so those who are pure of mind, and who joyfully wish to hear." At that time there was in the assembly a bodhisattva named Practicing Non-Defilement in Mara's Realm, who addressed the Buddha, saying, "Thus it is, world-honored one, I should now manifest myself in Mara's realm, and with my autonomous divine power cause him to reside in the Surangama Samadhi." The Buddha said, "As you wish." Practicing non-defilement in Mara's realm, Bodhisattva then suddenly disappeared from the assembly and reappeared in Mara's palace, where he said to Mara, "Why do you not listen to the Buddha's preaching of the Surangama Samadhi? Innumerable sentient beings have generated the intention to achieve insurpassable and perfect enlightenment and are escaping your realms. They are also helping others to become emancipated and escape your realms." Mara replied, "I hear the Buddha preaching the name of the Surangama Samadhi, but I have been bound up 5 times over and am unable to attend. That is, my 2 arms, 2 legs, and head are bound. The Bodhisattva asked the Mara again, "Who has bound you?" Mara replied, "Just as I decided to go disrupt those listening to the preaching of the Surangama Samadhi, I was bound up 5 times over." Thereupon I thought, the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas have great virtue that is impossible to disrupt. If I go, I will be myself destroyed, not simply bound up and kept in this palace. When I had this thought, I was released from my 5-fold bonds. The Bodhisattva answered, "Thus it is that all ordinary persons, in their discriminative thinking, mistakenly grasp at characteristics, making themselves bound. Their bonds exist because they think actively and theorize argumentatively. Their bonds exist because they see, hear, perceive, and know. Here there is actually no being bound and emancipated. Why? Because the dharmas are without bonds and are fundamentally emancipated, and because the dharmas are without emancipation and are fundamentally without bonds. Therefore the dharmas permanently possess the characteristic of emancipation, and therefore sentient beings are permanently without stupidity. The Tathagata preaches the Dharma using this teaching. Any sentient being who understands the meaning of this and energetically strives in order to achieve emancipation will attain emancipation from all bonds. At that time there were in Mara's assembly 700 goddesses who scattered heavenly flowers, incense, and necklaces before practicing non-defilement in Mara's realm, Bodhisattva, and then said, "When will we attain emancipation from Mara's realm?" The Bodhisattva answered, "You will attain emancipation when you are able to not to destroy your bonds to Mara." They inquired, "What are our bonds to Mara?" He replied, "The 62 mistaken views. If you do not destroy the mistaken views, you will attain emancipation from your bonds to Mara." The goddesses said, "How can you say that we will attain emancipation by not destroying our bonds to Mara?" The Bodhisattva answered, "The mistaken views are fundamentally without coming and without going. If you understand the characteristic of the non-coming and non-going of the views, then you will attain emancipation from your bonds to Mara. The mistaken views are neither being nor non-being. So if you do not discriminate being and non-being, then you will attain emancipation from your bonds to Mara. To be without views is the correct view, but such a correct view is not correct and heterodox. If you understand the Dharma to be not correct and heterodox, without action and without influence, then you will attain emancipation from your bonds to Mara. If you understand that these mistaken views are neither within nor without, nor in any intermediate location, and if you thus do not think about the mistaken views any more, then you will attain emancipation from your bonds to Mara." On hearing this teaching, the 700 goddesses attained the forbearance of accordance with the Dharmas, and said, "We also should practice non-defilement in Mara's realm, and save everyone who has been bound by Mara." Practicing non-defilement in Mara's realm, Bodhisattva then said to Mara, "Your attendants have generated the intention to achieve insurpassable and perfect enlightenment. What are you going to do?" Mara replied, "I am bound up 5 times over and do not know what to do." The Bodhisattva replied, "You should generate the intention to achieve insurpassable and perfect enlightenment so that you can attain emancipation from these bonds." Through their compassion for Mara, the goddesses said in unison, "You should definitely generate the intention to achieve insurpassable and perfect enlightenment. Do not create thoughts of fear where there is peace. Do not create thoughts of suffering in the midst of happiness. Do not create thoughts of bondage in emancipation." Mara then decided to try deceit, saying to the goddesses, "If you give up the intention to achieve enlightenment, I will then generate the intention to achieve enlightenment." Using the power of expedient means, the goddesses then said to Mara, "We have all given up the intention to achieve enlightenment. You should now generate the intention to achieve insurpassable and perfect enlightenment." If a single bodhisattva generates the intention to achieve enlightenment, then all bodhisattvas will have the same intention. Why? The minds of bodhisattvas are without distinction. They are all universally equivalent with regard to the minds of sentient beings. Mara then said to the practicing non-defilement in Mara's realm bodhisattva, "I will now generate the intention to achieve insurpassable and perfect enlightenment. Because of the good roots of this merit of this action, release my bonds." When he finished saying this, he saw himself released from his bonds. Using his supernormal power, practicing non-defilement in Mara's realm bodhisattva, then emanated a great brilliance, revealing his pure and wondrous body and illuminating Mara's palace. Mara saw that his own body was without brilliance, like an ink spot. 200 goddesses within Mara's assembly, being deeply attached to lustful desire, generated a defiled feeling of love upon seeing the beauty of the Bodhisattva's body. They said, "If you could stay with us, we would all follow your teachings." Understanding that the past karmic conditions of the goddesses made them ready for salvation, the Bodhisattva created 200 gods for them who were imposing in countenance and physically no different from himself. He also created 200 Mara-defeating palaces with jewel-bedecked towers. The goddesses all saw themselves in these jeweled towers, and each said to herself, "I will share great pleasure through being with this Bodhisattva. I hope never to be able to satiate my lustful desires." All of them generated a profound reverence for the Bodhisattva, who then preached the Dharma for them according to their needs, so that they all generated the intention to achieve insurpassable and perfect enlightenment. At that time, practicing non-defilement in Mara's realm, Bodhisattva said to Mara, "You may approach the Buddha." Mara thought, "My bonds have been released, so I can approach the Buddha and disrupt his preaching of the Dharma." With his attendants all around, Mara then approached the Buddha and said, "World-honored one, do not preach this Surangama Samadhi anymore. Why? When you preached this Samadhi, my body was immediately bound up 5 times over. I beseech the Tathagata to preach about something else." Resolute mind, Bodhisattva then addressed Mara. "Who released your bonds?" He answered, "Practicing non-defilement in Mara's realm, Bodhisattva, released my bonds." Resolute mind asked, "What did you do such that your bonds were released?" Mara answered, "I generated the intention to achieve insurpassable and perfect enlightenment." At that time, the Buddha told Resolute Mind, Bodhisattva, because Mara generated the intention to achieve unsurpassable and perfect enlightenment in order to have his bonds released, his intentions were not pure. That is, Resolute Mind, that in the last period of 500 years after my extinction, there will be many monks who will generate the intention to achieve insurpassable and perfect enlightenment for their own benefit and with impure intentions. Resolute Mind, you should observe the power of the Surangama Samadhi and the spirit of the Buddha's Dharma. Monks, nuns, laymen, and laywomen who hear about this Samadhi may generate the intention to achieve enlightenment lightheartedly, with a desire for self-benefit, or under the influence of some other person. I understand that such attitudes may form the causes and conditions for the generation of the intention to achieve insurpassable and perfect enlightenment. How much more so those who hear about the Surangama Samadhi and generate the intention to achieve insurpassable and perfect enlightenment with a pure mind. You should understand that such persons will attain the ultimate and definite attainment, i.e. Buddhahood, within the Buddha Dharma. Resolute Mind, Bodhisattva addressed the Buddha, saying, "World-honored one, Mara has heard the preaching of the Surangama Samadhi and has generated the intention to achieve enlightenment in order to be released from his bonds. Will this also constitute sufficient cause and conditions for attaining emancipation in the Buddha's Dharma?" The Buddha said, "It is as you have spoken. Due to fortunate causes and conditions of this Samadhi and the causes and conditions of generating the intention to achieve enlightenment, in the future he will be able to reject all the demonic affairs, demonic practices, demonic deceit, and demonic troublemaking. From now on, he will gradually attain the power of the Surangama Samadhi and will accomplish the enlightenment of Buddhahood." Resolute Mind, Bodhisattva, said to Mara, "The Tathagata has now conferred on you the prediction of future enlightenment." Mara said, "Good youth, I have at present not generated the intention to achieve insurpassable and perfect enlightenment with a pure mind. Why has the Tathagata conferred this prediction on me?" As the Buddha has said, karma proceeds from the mind and retribution proceeds from karma. I myself have no intention of seeking enlightenment, so why has the Tathagata conferred this prediction on me? Wishing to eradicate the doubts of those in the assembly, the Buddha then told Resolute Mind, "There are 4 types of predictions of enlightenment that are conferred on bodhisattvas. What are these 4? They are the prediction of enlightenment before the intention to achieve enlightenment has been generated, the prediction of the enlightenment of those who are about to generate the attention to enlightenment, the secret prediction of enlightenment, and the prediction of enlightenment at the moment someone attains the forbearance of the birthlessness of all dharmas. These are the 4. This teaching is only understandable to the Tathagatas. The Sravakas and Pratyekabuddhas are all unable to understand it." Resolute mind, what is it to confer the prediction of enlightenment before the intention to achieve enlightenment has been generated? There may be a sentient being who has wandered throughout the 5 modes of existence. He may be in the hells, he may be an animal, he may be a hungry ghost, he may be a god, or he may be a human. But if his senses are sharp and he takes pleasure in the great Dharma, the Buddha will know that he will generate the intention to achieve insurpassable and perfect enlightenment in a few 100,000, 10,000, 100,000,000 immeasurable aeons. During those 100,000, 10,000, 100,000,000 immeasurable aeons, he will practice the Bodhisattva path, making offerings to several 100,000, 10,000, 100,000,000 Nayutas of Buddhas, and teaching several 100,000, 10,000, 100,000,000 sentient beings, causing them to reside in enlightenment. Also, after 700,000, 10,000, 100,000,000 immeasurable aeons, he will attain insurpassable and perfect enlightenment, after which he will have such and such a title and have such and such a Buddha land. His lifespan and his congregation of Sarvakas will be such and such. After his extinction, the Dharma will remain for such and such a length of time. The Buddha told Resolute Mind, the Tathagatas are able to understand all such things, even in cases exceeding this one. This is called conferring the prediction of enlightenment before the intention to achieve enlightenment has been generated. At that time, the elder Mahakasyapa came forward to address the Buddha, saying, "From now on, we should generate the thought of the world-honored one with regard to all sentient beings. Why? We do not have the wisdom to know which sentient beings have the roots of bodhisattvahood and which do not. World-honored one, because we do not know such things, we might belittle such sentient beings only to our own disadvantage." The Buddha said, "Excellent, excellent, Kasyapa, you have spoken well. It is because of this that I have preached in the sutras that people should not falsely evaluate sentient beings. Why? If you falsely evaluate other sentient beings, it will be to your own disadvantage. Only the Tathagatas should evaluate sentient beings and others. It is thus that the Sarvakas and other bodhisattvas should think of other sentient beings as Buddhas. Lit. Generate the thought of a Buddha regarding sentient beings." Now to the prediction of enlightenment of those who are about to generate the intention to achieve enlightenment. For example, there may be a person who has long planted meritorious roots and who has cultivated the good practices, who is diligent and energetic, with his senses sharp, talking joy in the great Dharma, with a mind of great compassion and seeking the enlightenment of emancipation for all sentient beings. When such a person generates the intention to achieve enlightenment, he will reside in the state of non-regression and enter the state of a bodhisattva. He will be counted among those whose Buddhahood is assured and will escape the 8 situations in which it is difficult to encounter the Buddha's teaching, i.e. rebirth in hells, as a hungry ghost, as an animal, as a god, in the joyous continent of Uttakaru, or as a deaf or blind person, as one who has worldly wisdom, or before or after the lifetime of the Buddha. When it is appropriate for a person such as this to generate the intention to achieve enlightenment, the Buddha will confer on him a prediction of insurpassable and perfect enlightenment, with a title of such and such, with such and such a land, and a lifespan of such and such. For such a person, the Tathagata will confer the prediction of enlightenment through understanding his mind. This is called generating the intention to achieve enlightenment, and conferring the prediction of future enlightenment. The secret conferring of the prediction of future enlightenment is for bodhisattvas who are constantly diligent in seeking insurpassable and perfect enlightenment, but who have not yet received the prediction. Such a bodhisattva takes joy in the various types of charity. He takes joy in all types of charity. He has a firm understanding of the Dharma, maintains the precepts without omission, and generates profound ornamentation. He has great power of forbearance and empathizes with sentient beings. With diligence and energy, he seeks the various good dharmas. He is never lazy in either body or mind, as he strives as energetically as if his head were on fire. He practices mindfulness in peace and is able to attain the 4 dhyanas. He seeks wisdom joyfully and practices the enlightenment of Buddhahood. Long does he practice the 6 perfections, and he has the characteristic of achieving Buddhahood. The other bodhisattvas, dragons, yakshas, and gandharvas of that time will all have the following thought: such a bodhisattva, who is diligent and energetic like this, is truly rare. How long will it take him to attain insurpassable and perfect enlightenment? What will his title be? What will his land be called? What will be the size of his assembly of Sravakas? In order to eradicate the doubts of these sentient beings, the Buddha confers the prediction so that the entire assembly is able to hear it. Only the Bodhisattva himself is unable to hear it because of the Buddha's divine power. All the other sentient beings are made to know the Bodhisattva's title as a Buddha, the name of his land, and the size of his assembly of Sravakas. All their doubts are resolved, and they think of him, generate thoughts regarding him, as a world-honored one. But the Bodhisattva himself does not know whether he has already received the prediction of future enlightenment or not. This is the secret reception of the prediction of future enlightenment of Bodhisattvas. The present reception of the prediction of future enlightenment is for Bodhisattvas who have long accumulated good roots with unremitting true perception. Constantly cultivating pure practices and contemplating the emptiness of selflessness, such a Bodhisattva attains the forbearance of the birthlessness of all dharmas. Knowing that such a person's virtue and wisdom are sufficient, the Buddha confers the prediction of future enlightenment upon him in the presence of a great assembly of all the gods, humans, demons, Brahma gods, monks and Brahmins, saying, "Good youth, you will attain Buddhahood after passing through several 100,000, 10,000, 100,000,000 aeons. Your title will be such and such. Your land will be such and such. Your congregation of Sravakas and your longevity will be such and such." At that time, the innumerable people will be inspired by his example to generate the intention to achieve insurpassable and perfect enlightenment. After receiving the prediction of future enlightenment, in the presence of the Buddha, the Bodhisattva's body will ascend into space to the height of 7 tall trees. Resolute mind, this is called the fourth, or receiving the prediction in the presence. Resolute mind Bodhisattva then addressed the Buddha, saying, "Are there any Bodhisattvas in the present assembly who have received the prediction of future enlightenment in these 4 ways?" The Buddha said, "There are." Resolute mind asked, "World-honored one, who are they?" The Buddha said, "Lion King Bodhisattva, son of the layman, enjoys desires, received the prediction of future enlightenment before he generated the intention to achieve enlightenment. In the same fashion, innumerable bodhisattvas of other worlds have received the prediction of future enlightenment before they generated the intention to achieve enlightenment. There are also Serene Extinction Bodhisattva, Dharma Prince Great Merit Bodhisattva, Dharma Prince Manjushri Bodhisattva, and innumerable other bodhisattvas, upon whom the prediction of future enlightenment was conferred when they were ready to generate the intention to achieve enlightenment. They all reside at the stage of non-regression. Here also are Wise Valiance Bodhisattva and Beneficial Mind Bodhisattva. There are innumerable bodhisattvas like them who have had the prediction of future enlightenment conferred on them secretly. Resolute Mind, I, Maitreya, and all the 1,000 bodhisattvas of this wisdom aeon, all attain the forbearance of the birthlessness of all dharmas and receive the prediction of future enlightenment in the presence of a Buddha." Resolute Mind addressed the Buddha, saying, "How rare, world-honored one, the practices of the bodhisattvas are inconceivable. Their receipt of the prediction of future enlightenment is also inconceivable. The Sravakas and Pratyeka Buddhas are all unable to understand this. How much more so the other sentient beings?" The Buddha said, "Resolute mind, the energy and divine powers practiced and generated by bodhisattvas are all inconceivable." At that time, the goddesses, taught by practicing non-defilement in Mara's realm, Bodhisattva, made to generate the intention to achieve unsurpassable and perfect enlightenment, all scattered heavenly flowers above the Buddha and addressed him, saying, "World-honored one, we do not wish to receive a prediction of our future enlightenment secretly. We wish to attain the forbearance of the birthlessness of all dharmas and receive the prediction of future enlightenment in your presence. We beseech you, world-honored one, to grant us a prediction of insurpassable and perfect enlightenment now." The Buddha smiled delicately, and from his mouth appeared a wondrous refulgence of variegated colors that illuminated all the world, and then returned to enter him through the crown of his head. Ananda addressed the Buddha, saying, "World-honored one, why do you smile?" The Buddha told Ananda, Do you now see these 200 goddesses reverently holding their palms together in front of the Tathagata?" Ananda replied, "I see them, world-honored one." The Buddha said, "Ananda, these goddesses have already deeply planted good roots before 500 Buddhas of the past. From this time forth they will make offerings to innumerable Buddhas. After 700 immeasurable aeons, they will all achieve Buddhahood and have the titles of Pure King such and such." Ananda, after the end of these goddesses' lifetimes, they will be converted to the form of human females and be born in the Tusita heaven, where they will be making offerings to and serve Maitreya Bodhisattva. At that time, when Mara heard that the goddesses had already received a prediction of future enlightenment, he addressed the Buddha, saying, "World-honored one, I am now unable to exercise autonomy over my own attendants, because they have heard you preach the Surangama Samadhi. How much less my power over others who have also heard. If a person is able to hear the preaching of the Surangama Samadhi, he will definitely attain residence within the Buddha's Dharma." The goddesses then spoke fearlessly to Mara, saying, "You should not lament so. We have not now left your realm. Why, Mara's realm is such-like, just as the realm of the Buddhas is such-like. The suchness of Mara's realm and the suchness of the realm of the Buddhas are identical and not separate, and we will not transcend this suchness. The characteristics of Mara's realm are the characteristics of the realm of the Buddhas. The dharmas of Mara's realm and the dharmas of the realm of the Buddhas are identical and not separate, and we will not leave or escape this characteristic of the dharmas. Mara's realm is without any fixed dharmas that can be manifested. Likewise is the realm of the Buddhas without any fixed dharmas that can be manifested. Mara's realm and the realm of the Buddhas are not different and not separate, and we will not leave or escape this characteristic of the dharmas. Therefore, you should understand that all the dharmas are indeterminate. Since they are indeterminate, you have no attendants, and there are none who are not your attendants." At that time, Mara became despondent and distraught and wished to return to his heaven. But practicing non-defilement in Mara's realm, Bodhisattva addressed him, saying, "Where do you wish to go?" Mara said, "I wish to return to the palace where I reside." The Bodhisattva said, "You may be in your palace without leaving this assembly." And Mara then saw himself within his own palace. The Bodhisattva said, "What do you see?" Mara replied, "I see myself within my own palace. The pleasant grove, garden, and lake are mine." The Bodhisattva said, "You may now donate them to the Tathagata." Mara said, "So it shall be." When he said this, he saw the Tathagatas, Sravakas, Bodhisattvas, and the entire great assembly within the palace listening to the preaching of the Surangama Samadhi. Ananda then addressed the Buddha, saying, "World-honored one, in the present location, which has just been donated to you, you are preaching the Surangama Samadhi. Previously, you attained enlightenment after being given food. Of the blessings received by the two donors, which is greater?" The Buddha said, "Ananda, after food was given to me, I achieved insurpassable and perfect enlightenment. After I ate, I turned the wheel of the Dharma. After I ate, I preached the Surangama Samadhi. There is no distinction among the blessings derived from these three offerings of food. Ananda, where was I when I attained insurpassable and perfect enlightenment? You should understand that location was the Vajrasana. All the Buddhas of the past, future, and present attain the enlightenment of Buddhahood within the Vajrasana. Wherever they are, they preach the Surangama Samadhi identically and without any difference. It is the same with the locations in which the scriptures are recited or copied. Ananda, as to the offering of food to me prior to the first turning of the wheel of the Dharma, if a Dharma master recites or preaches the Surangama Samadhi after receiving an offering of food, the blessings accruing from these two offerings will be identical and not different. Also, Ananda, as to when I reside in the monastery and use the 18 types of supernormal transformations to lead sentient beings to emancipation, if someone recites or preaches this Surangama Samadhi in another monastery after receiving an offering of food, the blessings accruing from these two offerings will be identical and not different." Ananda then said to Mara, "You have attained great benefit since you have been able to donate your palace and have had the Buddha reside therein." Mara said, "This was the effect of the compassionate power of practicing non-defilement in Mara's realm." Bodhisattva. Resolute mind, Bodhisattva, addressed the Buddha. World-honored one, this autonomous mastery of divine power of practicing non-defilement in Mara's realm, Bodhisattva, is it due to residence in the Surangama Samadhi? The Buddha said, "Resolute mind, it is as you have said. This Bodhisattva now resides in this Samadhi and is thus able to have autonomous mastery of divine power. He manifests the practices of all the practices of Mara's realm, but is able to remain undefiled by those demonic practices. He manifests pleasure with the goddesses, but is actually never influenced by the evil dharmas of lust." This good youth resides in the Surangama Samadhi and manifests entry into Mara's palace, but his body never leaves my assembly. He manifests amusement in the pleasures of Mara's realm, but teaches sentient beings with the Dharma of the Buddhas. Resolute Mind Bodhisattva addressed the Buddha, saying, World-honored one, you reside in the Surangama Samadhi and are able to manifest various types of autonomous divine power. How excellent this is, world-honored one. Could you explain this briefly? The Buddha said, Resolute Mind, I am now residing in the Surangama Samadhi throughout the true Achillocosm, in the hundred million worlds beneath the fourfold heavens, the hundred million suns and moons, the hundred million places of the heavenly kings, the hundred million heavens of the 33, the hundred million Yama heavens, the hundred million Tusita heavens, the hundred million joyous heavens, the hundred million autonomous transformation of others' pleasures heavens, etc., up until the hundred million ultimate immateriality heavens, the hundred million Mount Sumerus, and the hundred million great oceans, all of which is called the Trichilocosm. Resolute Mind, I reside in the Surangama Samadhi throughout the Trichilocosm. I may manifest the practice of the perfection of charity in this continent, Jambudvipa, or I may manifest the practice of the perfection of morality in Jambudvipa, or I may manifest the practice of the perfection of patience in Jambudvipa, or I may manifest the practice of the perfection of energy in Jambudvipa, or I may manifest the practice of the perfection of meditation in Jambudvipa, or I may manifest the practice of the perfection of wisdom in Jambudvipa, or I may manifest myself as an immortal god with the 5 supernormal powers in Jambudvipa, or I may manifest myself as a householder in Jambudvipa, or I may manifest myself as a monk in Jambudvipa. I may manifest myself in the location of the penultimate birth in the Tushita heaven, or I may manifest myself as the wheel-turning sage king throughout the world beneath the 4 heavens, fourfold. Or I may become an Indra king, or a Brahma king, or one of the 4 heavenly kings, or the king of Yama heaven, or the king of Tushita heaven, or the king of the joyous heaven, or the king of the teaching others autonomy heaven. I may manifest myself as an elder, or I may manifest myself as a layman, or I may manifest myself as a minor prince, or a great king, or I may become a kshatriya, or I may become a brahmin, or I may become a bodhisattva. Or within the world beneath the fourfold heavens, I may wish to be reborn from the Tushita heaven into the world below, and manifest entry into a womb, or manifest location in a womb, or manifest a desire to be born. I may manifest being born, walking 7 steps and raising my hands, saying, On earth and in the heavens only I am worthy of honor. I may manifest being in a palace accompanied by princesses, or I may manifest leaving home, or I may manifest ascetic practices, or I may manifest taking grass for a seat, or I may manifest sitting on the seat of enlightenment, Bodhimanda, or I may manifest subjugating Mara, or I may manifest achieving Buddhahood, or I may manifest seeing the tree king, the god within the tree behind the Bodhimanda, or I may manifest being asked by Indra and Brahma to turn the wheel of the Dharma, or I may manifest turning the wheel of the Dharma, or I may manifest dispensing with my life, or I may manifest entering nirvana, or I may manifest having my body cremated, or I may manifest my entire body as relics, or I may manifest having my physical relics scattered, divided. I may manifest the imminent extinction of the Dharma, or I may manifest the extinction of the Dharma. I may manifest an immeasurable lifespan, or I may manifest a very short lifespan. I may manifest a land without the names of any evil modes of existence, or I may manifest the existence of the evil modes. I may manifest Jambudvipa pure and ornamented like a heavenly palace, or I may manifest the evils, or I may manifest superior, intermediate, and inferior realms. Resolute Mind, all this is done through the autonomous divine power of the Surangama Samadhi. When a bodhisattva manifests entry into nirvana, he does not undergo ultimate extinction, but rather is able to manifest such an autonomous divine power throughout the Trichilocosm, manifesting ornamentations of the Dharma such as these. Resolute Mind, you see me now in this world, underneath the fourfold heavens turning the wheel of the Dharma, but elsewhere in Jambudvipa I have not yet achieved Buddhahood, and yet elsewhere in Jambudvipa I have already manifested entry into extinction. This is known as the teaching entered by means of the Surangama Samadhi. At that time, the various gods, dragons, yakshas, Gandharvas within the assembly, as well as the bodhisattvas and great disciples, all had the following thought. Is it only in this Trilokasam that Sakyamuni Buddhi has this divine power, or does he also have this power in other worlds? Dharma Prince Manjushri, knowing the thoughts of those in the assembly and wanting to eradicate their doubts, then addressed the Buddha, saying, World-honored one, in my wandering throughout the Buddha lands, I have been to a Buddha land that is more than 60 times as many worlds above our world as there are grains in the sand of the river Ganges. The name of this Buddha land is Brilliance of a Single Lamp, and there is a Buddha there who preaches the Dharma on behalf of people. I went to him, reverenced him by placing my head on his feet, and asked, World-honored one, what is your title? How should I address you as a Buddha? The Buddha there answered me, You should proceed to Sakyamuni Buddha. He will answer you, world-honored one, if one were to speak of the merit and splendor of that Buddha land, one would not finish in an entire aeon. Even more than this, that land lacks the names of the Saravaka and Prajakabhuta. There are only bodhisattva monks, to whom that Buddha constantly turns the wheel of the Dharma, preaching without ever regressing. I beseech you, world-honored one, to please tell us the names of this Buddha. Please tell us about the Buddha who is preaching the Dharma in the land of the brilliance of a single lamp. At that time the Buddha told Dharma Prince Manjushri, Listen well, do not be afraid or have doubts. Why? The divine power of the Buddha is inconceivable. The power of the Surangama Samadhi is also inconceivable. Manjushri, he who preaches the Dharma in the land of the brilliance of a single lamp, is the Buddha with the title King of Brilliance that autonomously manifests all merit. Manjushri, the Buddha King of Brilliance that autonomously manifests all merit of that land of the brilliance of a single lamp, is actually one of my own bodies, which I have manifested in that land through my divine power as a Buddha. It is I who constantly turn the wheel of the Dharma, preaching without ever regressing. This is a pure land cultivated by me in the past lives. Manjushri, you should now understand that I have this divine power throughout the immeasurable and innumerable 110,000, 100 million Nayutas of other lands. The Sravakas and Prajakabhutas are unable to understand this. Manjushri, this is entirely the power of the Surangama Samadhi. The Bodhisattva always manifests his divine transformations in immeasurable worlds, but there is no movement or change in the Samadhi itself. Manjushri, it is likened to the sun and moon in their own palaces, which manifest all the cities, towns, and villages without ever moving themselves. Likewise does the Bodhisattva reside in the Surangama Samadhi. Without ever moving himself, he is able to manifest his bodies throughout the immeasurable worlds, preaching the Dharma according to the pleasure of his congregations. At that time, those in the assembly had an experience they never had before. They all jumped up in great and immeasurable joy, holding their palms together in reverence. The gods, dragons, yakshas, Gandharvas, asuras, garudas, kimnaras, and maharagas scattered pearl flowers, wondrous flowers of variegated colors, incense powders, and unguents about above the Buddha, meanwhile performing the dances of their heavens and making offerings to the Tathagata. The disciples took off their upper robes and offered them to the Buddha, and the bodhisattvas then scattered about above the Buddha a mass of wondrously colored flowers the size of Mount Sumeru, as well as various types of incense powders, unguents, and jeweled necklaces, saying, Thus it should be, world-honored one. If the Surangama Samadhi is preached somewhere, that place should be as firm as Vajra. If someone hears the preaching of this Samadhi, believes in it, recites it, and preaches it for others without their being shocked or afraid, it should be understood that such a person will have the forbearance of adamantine indestructibility, profoundly residing in his faith. He will be protected by all the Buddhas. Having extensively planted good roots, he will attain great benefit. Subjugating the demons and enemies, he will eradicate the influence of the evil modes of existence, and will be protected by spiritual compatriots. World-honored one, this is how we understand the doctrine that the Buddha has preached. If a sentient being hears this Surangama Samadhi and has faith in it, reciting it and understanding its doctrines, preaching it for people and practicing it according to how you have preached, then such a person will reside in the Dharma of the Buddhas and will attain to the ultimate certain attainment without regressing. The Buddha said, Thus it is, it is as you have said. There will be some who do not extensively plant good roots and who hear the Surangama Samadhi but are unable to believe in it. Will be fewer who hear the Surangama Samadhi and are able to believe in it, and more who are unable to believe. Good youth, there are 4 types of persons who can hear and have faith in this Samadhi. What are these 4? The first are those who have heard this Samadhi from the Buddhas in the past. The second are those who are protected by spiritual compatriots and who long for the enlightenment of the Buddhas. The third are those with good roots that are deep and wide and who love the great Dharma. The fourth are those who have themselves realized the profound Dharma of the Mahayana. These are the 4 types of persons who are able to believe in a Samadhi such as this. Good youth, there are also arhats who have completed their vows, those who believe and practice as they have been taught, and those who practice the Dharma according to their own understanding. Since these persons believe in and follow my words, they will believe in this Samadhi but not realize it themselves. Why? This Samadhi cannot be understood by any of the Sravakas and Pratyekabuddhas, how much less by other sentient beings. The elder Mahāskyapa then addressed the Buddha, saying, World-honored one, it is likened to a person who is blind from birth. In his dreams he may see various forms with his eyes and be greatly happy, and he may reside with and talk with sighted people in his dreams. When he awakes, however, he will not see form. We are like this. When we disciples had not heard of this Surangama Samadhi, our hearts were happy, and we declared that we had attained the heavenly eye. We resided together with the bodhisattvas and spoke with them, discussing the doctrines. World-honored one, now that we have heard of this Samadhi from you, we realized that we did not understand. Like people blind from birth, we were unable to understand the dharmas practiced by the Buddhas and bodhisattvas. From now on, we will think of our former selves as if we had been blind from birth, with no wisdom regarding your profound dharma, and neither understanding nor even perceiving your practices. From now on, we will understand that it was the bodhisattvas who have really attained the heavenly eye, and who have been able to attain such profound wisdoms. World-honored one, if a person is without omniscience, how can he say, I am wise, I am a field of blessings? The Buddha said, Thus it is, Kasyapa, it is as you have spoken. The Sravakas and Pratyekabuddhas are unable to attain the profound wisdoms attained by the bodhisattvas. When Mahāskyapa spoke these words, 8,000 sentient beings all generated the intention to achieve insurpassable and perfect enlightenment. Resolute Mind Bodhisattva then asked the Dharma Prince Manjushri, Manjushri, Kasyapa has just used the term field of blessings. What is a field of blessings? Manjushri said, those who possess the 10 types of practice are called fields of blessings. What are those 10? They are, 1. To reside in the emancipations of emptiness, characteristicless, and witchlessness without entering into the Absolute. To understand the 4 noble truths without realizing the fruit of enlightenment. To practice the 8 emancipations without dispensing with the practice of the Bodhisattva. To be able to generate the 3 wisdoms and yet practice throughout the triple realm. To be able to manifest the form and deportment of a Sravaka and follow the Buddha's oral teaching without seeking the Dharma from anyone else. To manifest the form and deportment of a Pratyekabuddha and yet preach the Dharma with unhindered discrimination. To remain constantly in meditation and yet manifest the practice of all the various practices. Never to depart from the correct path but to manifest entry into the heterodox paths. To have profound greed and defiled lust but to transcend the desires and all the afflictions. And to enter into nirvana and neither destroy nor dispense with samsara. These are the 10. You should understand that a person versed in the Surangama Samadhi is a true field of blessings. Resolute Mind Bodhisattva then asked Subhuti, Elder Subhuti, the world-honored one has preached that you are the premier among the fields of blessings. Have you attained these 10? Subhuti said, I do not have even one of them. How could I have all 10? Resolute Mind said, Why are you called premier among the fields of blessings? Subhuti said, I am not premier among the fields of blessings in the context of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. The Buddha has preached that I am premier in the field of blessings in the context of the Sravakas and Pratyekabuddhas. Resolute Mind, I am like the princes of a marginal location who are called kings. If a wheel-turning sage king went to that marginal location, the princes would no longer be called kings. There would then be only that wheel-turning sage king. This is because the virtue of that sage king is particularly wondrous and excellent. Resolute Mind, since there are places in the countries, cities, towns, and villages where there are no bodhisattvas, I may be said to be a field of blessings in that context. However, where the Buddha and Bodhisattvas are, I may not be called a field of blessings. The Bodhisattvas possess omniscience and are therefore superior to me. At this time the Buddha praised Subhuti, saying, "Excellent, excellent, it is as you have spoken. These are the words of a great disciple who is without arrogance." Resolute Mind Bodhisattva then asked Dharma Prince Manjushri, "Manjushri, you are said to be well versed, lit, greatly heard, in the Buddhist scriptures. Why are you called well versed?" Manjushri said, "To hear a single phrase of the Dharma, to understand within it the 10,000, 10,000, 100,000,000 doctrines, and to explain it extensively for 100,000, 10,000 aeons, with one's wisdom and discrimination inexhaustible. This is called well versed. Also, resolute mind, Bodhisattva, to listen and to be able to maintain, remember and recite everything preached by all the innumerable Buddhas of the 10 directions, so that there is not a single phrase one has not heard, so that every phrase of the Dharma that one hears, one would thus have heard before, and to be able to maintain all the Dharma that one has heard without forgetting, to be able to preach the Dharma to sentient beings without there being sentient beings, and without any distinction between self, sentient beings, and the Dharma being preached. This is called well-versed." At that time there was in the assembly a bodhisattva god named Pure Moonstore, who thought as follows: "The Buddha has taught that Ananda was premier in being well-versed. But is Ananda well-versed in the manner that has just been explained by Manjushri?" When he had had this thought, he asked Ananda, "The Tathagata has taught that you are premier in being well-versed. Are you well-versed in the manner just explained by Manjushri?" Ananda answered, "I am not well-versed in the manner explained by Manjushri." Pure Moonstore Bodhisattva said, "Then why did the Tathagata declare you to be premier in being well-versed?" Ananda answered, "I am said to be premier among the disciples of the Buddha, who have become emancipated upon following the sounds of the Buddha's teachings. That is not to say that I am premier in being well-versed among the Bodhisattvas, who have oceans of immeasurable wisdom, unequaled great sagacity, and unhindered discrimination. O God, it is likened to the brilliance of the sun and moon, by which the people of Jambudvipa see the various forms and perceive their own activities. I am like this. However, with the brilliance of the wisdom of the Tathagata, one may maintain the Dharmas. I am powerless in this regard. You should understand that this is entirely the divine power of the Tathagata." The world-honored one then praised Ananda, saying, "Excellent, excellent, it is as you have spoken. You should understand that all the Dharmas which you maintain and recite are all due to the divine power of the Tathagata." Then the Buddha told Pure Moonstore, "The Dharmas maintained by Ananda are extremely few. Those he does not recite are immeasurable and infinite. O God of the Dharmas, I attained at my enlightenment, lit at my place of enlightenment, Bodhimanda. I have preached not even a single 100,000, 100,000,000th part. And of those that I preached, Ananda maintains that not even a single 100,000, 100,000,000 part. O God, in just a single day and night, I preached the Dharma to all the Indra gods, Brahma gods, world-protecting kings, gods, dragons, yakshas, Gandharvas, Asuras, Garudas, Kimnaras, Maharagas, and Bodhisattvas in all the worlds of the 10 directions. With the power of my wisdom I compose verses and preach the sutras, stories and parables, as well as the explanations of the perfections to be practiced by sentient beings. I also preach the Dharmas of the Sravaka and Pratyeka vehicles. The insurpassable vehicle of the Buddhas encompasses the teaching of the Mahayana. I decry samsara and praise nirvana. Even if all the sentient beings within Jambudvipa were as well versed as Ananda, they would be unable to maintain all these dharmas for 100,000 aeons. O God, because of this you should understand that the dharmas preached by the Tathagata are innumerable and infinite, and that the portion maintained by Ananda is extremely small." At that point the god, Pure Moonstore, preferred to the Tathagata a canopy made of 100,000 flowers of the 7 precious things. The canopy immediately spread out throughout space, imparting a golden color to all the sentient beings it covered. After proffering this canopy, he said, "Thus it is, world-honored one. With this merit I beseech you to grant all sentient beings the discrimination to preach the Dharma like you, and to be able to maintain the Dharmas like Manjushri, the Dharma prince." The Buddha then realized that this Bodhisattva god longed profoundly for the enlightenment of Buddhahood and conferred upon him the prediction of the achievement of insurpassable and perfect enlightenment, saying, After 400,000 aeons, this god will become a Buddha. His title will be Single Treasured Canopy, and his land will be named Ornamented with All the Treasures. When the Buddha said this, 200 bodhisattvas became discouraged, thinking, the Dharma of the Buddhas, the world-honored ones, is extremely profound and unsurpassable, and perfect enlightenment is this difficult to achieve. We will not be able to complete the task. This is worse than if we had just entered nirvana as Pratyekabuddhas. Why? The Buddha has preached that if a bodhisattva regresses, he will become either a Pratyekabuddha or a Sravaka. At that time, Dharma Prince Manjushri knew that these 200 bodhisattvas had become discouraged, wishing to rekindle their intention to achieve unsurpassable and perfect enlightenment, and also wishing to teach the gods, dragons, yakshas, gandharvas, asuras, garudas, kinnaras, maharagas in the assembly. He addressed the Buddha, saying, World-honored one, I remember an aeon in the past named Luminous Brilliance, during which I entered nirvana as a Pratyekabuddha in 36 billion lifetimes. Everyone in the assembly then became doubtful, thinking that someone who enters nirvana should not return to the succession of birth and death. How can Manjushri say, World-honored one, I remember an aeon in the past named Luminous Brilliance, during which I entered nirvana as a Pratyekabuddha in 36 billion lifetimes? How could this be? Sariputra, taking up the Buddha's divine intent, then addressed the Buddha, saying, World-honored one, someone who enters nirvana should not return to the succession of birth and death. How could Manjushri have entered nirvana and then returned to be born? The Buddha said, You may ask Manjushri. He will answer you himself. Sariputra then asked Manjushri, saying, Anyone who enters nirvana should not return to the realms of existence. Why did you say, world-honored one, I remember an aeon in the past named Luminous Brilliance, during which I entered nirvana as a Pratyekabuddha in 36 billion lifetimes? What did you mean by this? Manjushri said, The Tathagata is now in the world. He is the all-knowing one, the all-seeing one, the one who speaks the truth, the one who does not deceive, the one who cannot be deceived by the gods and the people of this world. What I have said, the Buddha realizes to be true. If I have spoken incorrectly, then it would be to deceive the Buddha. Sariputra, at that time in the Luminous Brilliance Aeon, there was a Buddha in the world named Pusya, who entered nirvana after benefiting the gods and people of that world. The Dharma lasted for 100,000 years after the extinction of Pusya Buddha. After the extinction of the Dharma, there were sentient beings there who had karmic connections, lit causes and conditions, to be saved as Pratyekabuddhas. But even if 100,000 million Buddhas had preached the Dharma to them, they would not have believed it or accepted it. They could only achieve emancipation through the impact of seeing the body and deportment of a Pratyekabuddha. Since these sentient beings all longed for the enlightenment of Pratyekabuddhas, they would have had no opportunity, lit causes and conditions, to plant good roots if no Pratyekabuddha had appeared. In order to teach those sentient beings, I then declared my body to be that of a Pratyekabuddha. Throughout all the countries, cities, towns, and villages, everyone knew that my body was that of a Pratyekabuddha, and I always manifested the physical form and deportment of a Pratyekabuddha. The sentient beings there had profound reverence, and they all made offerings of food and drink to me. After accepting these offerings and partaking of them, I considered how their various karmic dispositions, fundamental conditions, would make them responsive to hearing the Dharma. After preaching the Dharma to them, I had my body fly up to the sky, like the king of the geese. Those sentient beings all became very happy at this, bowing their heads in obeisance to me with reverential minds, saying, We wish that in the future we may all attain the benefit in the Dharma, such as you have. Sariputra, through these causes and conditions, immeasurable and innumerable sentient beings planted good roots. When I realized that people had developed feelings of laziness through offering me food and were no longer striving for their own enlightenment, I announced to them that the time for my nirvana has arrived. Upon hearing this, 100,000 sentient beings came to where I was, carrying flowers, incense, and oil. However, when I entered the meditation of extinction, Nirodha Samapatti, and because of my original vow, I did not undergo final extinction, even though the sentient beings there said that my life had finished. In order to make offerings to me, they cremated my body with fragrant wood, saying that I had really undergone extinction. I then proceeded to a great city in another country where I proclaimed myself to be a Pratyekabuddha. The sentient beings there came with food and drink to make offerings to me, and I manifested the entry into nirvana there as well. They too had said that I had undergone extinction, and they all came to make offerings and to cremate my body. Thus, Sariputra, did I spend a single small aeon. For 36 billion lifetimes, I took on the body of a Pratyeka Buddha and manifested entry into nirvana. In those great cities, I led 3,600,000,000 sentient beings to salvation using the vehicle of the Pratyeka Buddha. Sariputra, thus does a bodhisattva use the vehicle of the Pratyeka Buddha to enter nirvana without undergoing permanent extinction. When Manjushri spoke these words, the 6 types of vibrations shook the trichilocosm, and a brilliant light illuminated everywhere. 1,000,000,000,000 gods made offerings to the Dharma Prince Manjushri, raining heavenly flowers upon him and saying, "This is truly rare. We have today attained great benefit by seeing the Buddha, the world-honored one, by seeing Manjushri, the Dharma Prince, and by hearing the preaching of the Surangama Samadhi. O world-honored one, Dharma Prince Manjushri has accomplished such an unprecedented Dharma. In what Samadhi does he reside that he is able to manifest this unprecedented Dharma?" The Buddha told the gods, "Manjushri, the Dharma Prince, is able to accomplish such rare and difficult feats because he resides in the Surangama Samadhi. When a bodhisattva resides in this Samadhi, he performs the practice of faith for sentient beings, yet does not follow any other faith. He also performs the practice of the Dharma, and with regard to the characteristic of the Dharma, neither regresses nor fails in the turning of the wheel of the Dharma. He also transforms himself into 8 different types of persons and cultivates enlightenment during countless immeasurable aeons on behalf of those beings misled by the 8 heterodoxies, the opposites of the Eightfold Noble Path. He becomes the stream enterer, but on behalf of sentient beings floating in the waters of samsara, he does not enter the Absolute. He becomes a seldom returner and manifests his body throughout the worlds. He becomes a once returner and returns again to teach sentient beings. He becomes an arhat and studies the Dharma of the Buddhas with constant energy. He becomes a Shravaka and preaches the Dharma with unhindered discrimination. He becomes a Pratyeka Buddha, and in order to teach sentient beings having appropriate attitudes, lit causes and conditions, he manifests entry into nirvana and then, through the power of Samadhi, returns to be born once again. O gods, bodhisattvas who reside in the Surangama Samadhi are all pervasively able to practice the practices of the sages. In accordance with their stages, they also preach the Dharma, although they do not reside therein. When the gods heard the Buddha preach this doctrine, they all burst into tears, saying, "World-honored one, if someone has already entered the rank of Sravaka or Pratyeka Buddha, he must lose forever this Surangama Samadhi. However, O world-honored one, if someone has committed any of the 5 major transgressions, if he hears the preaching of the Surangama Samadhi, he will become an arhat with his impurities exhausted and without entering into absolute, i.e. extinction. Why, even if someone has committed any of the 5 major transgressions, after hearing this Surangama Samadhi and generating the intention to achieve insurpassable and perfect enlightenment, even though his original transgression would ordinarily lead him to being cast into the hells, by the good roots and the causes and conditions of hearing this Samadhi, he will instead achieve Buddhahood. World-honored one, an arhat with impurities exhausted is yet like a broken vessel, because he is permanently unable to receive this Samadhi. World-honored one, it is likened to an offering of ghee and honey, which is to be carried in various vessels by many people. One of those people may be careless and break the vessel he is carrying, so that even though he arrives at the location where the ghee and honey is to be donated, it is of no benefit. Although he can satisfy himself, he cannot carry any back to give others. Another person who carries a vessel that remains complete and strong is able to satisfy himself and carry the filled vessel to give to others. The ghee and honey stands for the correct dharma of the Buddhas. Those who break the vessels they carry, who satisfy themselves without being able to carry any ghee and honey back to give to others, are the Sravakas and Pratyeka Buddhas. Those carrying the whole vessels are the Bodhisattvas, who are able to satisfy themselves and also carry the Dharma back to all sentient beings. At this time, the 200 Bodhisattvas, lit gods, who were about to regress from the intention to achieve insurpassable and perfect enlightenment, upon hearing the words of these gods, and upon hearing the inconceivable power of the merit of the Dharma Prince Manjushri, experience a profound intention to achieve insurpassable and perfect enlightenment. Dispensing with their previous inclinations to regress, they addressed the Buddha, saying, We will never forsake this intention, even at the cost of personal injury or loss of life, and we will never forsake all sentient beings. World-honored one, we only wish that we might hear the good roots and causes and conditions of this Surangama Samadhi, and that we might attain the 10 powers of the Bodhisattva. What are these 10? They are the power of firm resolve in the intention to achieve enlightenment, the power to attain profound faith in the inconceivable dharmas of the Buddhas, the power to be well versed in and not forget the Dharma, the power to travel tirelessly throughout samsara, the power of resolute great compassion for all sentient beings. 6. The power of equanimity in charity, the power of indestructibility in morality. 8. The power of resolute acceptance in forbearance. 9. The power of wisdom indestructible by demons. And 10. The power of joy of faith in the profound dharmas. The Buddha then told Resolute Mind Bodhisattva, "You should understand that any sentient beings who hear this Surangama Samadhi and are able to have faith and take joy in it, whether during my presence or after my extinction, will all attain these 10 powers of the Bodhisattva." At that time, there was within the assembly a Bodhisattva named Mind of Name, who addressed the Buddha, saying, "World-honored one, those who desire blessings should make offerings to the Buddhas. Those who desire wisdom should strive to be well versed in the Dharma. Those who desire a favorable rebirth should strive in morality. Those who desire great fortune should perform charity. Those who desire to attain a wondrous physical form should cultivate forbearance. Those who desire discrimination should honor teachers. Those who desire dharanis should transcend arrogance. Those who desire wisdom should cultivate correct mindfulness. Those who desire joy should dispense with all that is wrong. Those who desire to benefit sentient beings should generate the intention to achieve enlightenment. Those who desire wondrous sounds should cultivate true speech, honesty. Those who desire merit should take pleasure in transcendence. Those who desire to seek the Dharma should associate with spiritual compatriots. Those who desire to practice seated meditation should separate themselves from disturbance. Those who desire understanding should cultivate meditation. Those who desire rebirth in the realms of Brahma should cultivate the unlimited states of mind. Those who desire rebirth as gods or humans should cultivate the 10 forms of good. However, world-honored one, those who desire good fortune, those who desire wisdom, those who desire favorable rebirth, those who desire great fortune, those who desire to attain a wondrous physical form, those who desire discrimination, those who desire dharanis, those who desire wisdom, those who desire joy, those who desire to benefit sentient beings, those who desire wondrous sounds, those who desire merit, those who desire to seek the Dharma, those who desire to practice seated meditation, those who desire understanding, those who desire rebirth in the realms of Brahma, those who desire rebirth as gods or humans, those who desire nirvana, those who desire the attainment of all forms of merit. Such persons should hear the Surangama Samadhi, remember it, recite it, preach it to others, and practice it as it has been preached. Mind of the Name Bodhisattva then inquired, "World-honored one, how should the Bodhisattva cultivate this Samadhi?" The Buddha said, "Mind of Name, if a Bodhisattva is able to contemplate the Dharmas as empty and unobstructed, with each moment of thought completely extinguished and transcending like and dislike, that is to cultivate this Samadhi. Also, Mind of Name, one cannot study this Samadhi by one approach alone. Why? In accordance with the activities, samskara, of the minds and mental attributes, shin-shin-hyu, shita, shaita, of sentient beings, this Samadhi has various practices. In accordance with the sensory realms, ju, ayatana, of the minds and mental attributes of sentient beings, this Samadhi has various realms. In accordance with the entryways, ju men, of the senses of sentient beings, this Samadhi has various entryways. In accordance with the names and forms, ming se, of sentient beings, bodhisattvas who have attained this Samadhi also manifest a variety of names and forms. To be able to understand this is to cultivate this Samadhi. In accordance with all the names and forms and physical characteristics of the Buddhas, bodhisattvas who have attained this Samadhi also manifest a variety of names and forms and physical characteristics. To be able to understand this is to cultivate this Samadhi. In accordance with their vision of all the Buddha lands, bodhisattvas are also able to create such lands. This is to cultivate this Samadhi. Mind of the Name Bodhisattva addressed the Buddha. World-honored one, it is extremely difficult to cultivate this Samadhi. The Buddha told Mind of Name, "It is because of this that few bodhisattvas reside in this Samadhi, while many bodhisattvas practice other Samadhis." Mind of Name Bodhisattva then addressed the Buddha, saying, World-honored one, Maitreya, who is now in the location of his penultimate birth in the Tusita heaven, and who is to succeed you, must have attained insurpassable and perfect enlightenment. Has Maitreya attained the Surangama Samadhi? The Buddha said, Mind of Name, those bodhisattvas who reside on the 10th stage, who are in the location of their penultimate birth in the Tusita heaven, and who have attained the true rank of Buddhahood, every one of these bodhisattvas has attained the Surangama Samadhi. Maitreya Bodhisattva then manifested his divine power as follows. Mind of Name Bodhisattva and the rest of the assembly saw all of the Jambudvipa continents in all the worlds of the Trichilocosm. They saw Maitreya Bodhisattva in the center of each Jambudvipa, or in the heavens, or among humans, or as a monk, or as a householder, or as an attendant to the Buddha like Ananda, or as one premier in wisdom like Sariputra, or as one premier in supernormal powers like Maudgalyayana, or as one premier in asceticism like Mahakasyapa, or as one premier in preaching the Dharma like Purna, or as one premier in the precepts or esoteric practices like Rahula, or as one premier in maintaining the Vinaya like Upali, or as one premier in the heavenly eye like Aniruddha, or as one premier in seated meditation like Ravata. Thus did they see Maitreya in the form of those premier in all aspects of the Dharma. They saw him entering into the cities, towns, and villages, begging or preaching the Dharma, or in seated meditation. Everything that was seen by the Mind of Name Bodhisattva and the great assembly was manifested by Maitreya Bodhisattva through the power of the supernormal abilities achieved through the Surangama Samadhi. After seeing all this, Mind of Name Bodhisattva addressed the Buddha with great joy, saying, World-honored one, it is likened to gold, which is not altered in nature even when refined. And all these bodhisattvas can do likewise. In whatever they attempt, they are able to manifest the inconceivable Dharma nature. Mind of Name Bodhisattva then addressed the Buddha, World-honored one, I suggest that if a bodhisattva is able to penetrate the Surangama Samadhi, one should understand that he penetrates all religious practices. He penetrates the vehicle of the Sravaka, the vehicle of the Pratyeka and the great vehicle, the Mahayana of the Buddha. The Buddha said, Thus it is, it is as you have spoken. If a bodhisattva is able to penetrate the Surangama Samadhi, he penetrates all religious practices. At that time, the elder Mahasyapa addressed the Buddha, World-honored one, I suggest that Dharma Prince Manjushri has already been a Buddha in a past life. He has himself sat in the seat of enlightenment and turned the wheel of the Dharma, and he has manifested entry into parinirvana to sentient beings. The Buddha said, Thus it is, it is as you have spoken, Kasyapa. Long in the distant past, an immeasurable and innumerable number of inconceivable, immeasurable aeons ago, there was a Buddha who is called Paragon of the Dragons, as well as by the 10 titles Tathagata, he who should receive offerings of correct and universal understanding, sufficient in wise practice, well gone, he who understands the world, the unsurpassed one, he who disciplines humans, teacher of humans and gods, and world-honored Buddha. 1,000 Buddha lands south of this world, there was a country called Universal Equivalence, which had neither mountains nor rivers, neither stones nor rocks, and neither hills nor dales. The land there was as flat as the palm of one's hand, and on it grew a soft grass, like that in Kalinga, when Paragon of the Dragons, Buddha, attained insurpassable and perfect enlightenment, and first turned the wheel of the Dharma in that world. He created an assembly of 7 billion bodhisattvas through his teaching. 8 billion people became arhats, and 96,000 people resided as Pratyeka resided within the dharmas of the causes and conditions of Pratyeka. Afterward, there were also an immeasurable number of Sravaka monks. Kasyapa, the lifespan of the Paragon of the Dragons, Buddha, was 4,400,000 years, during which time he saved humans and gods and then entered into nirvana. His physical relics were divided and distributed around the world, and there were erected 3,600 million stupas, at which sentient beings made offerings to him. After that Buddha died, the Dharma remained for 10,000 years. When Paragon of the Dragons Buddha was about to enter nirvana, he conferred a prediction of future enlightenment on Brilliance of Wisdom Bodhisattva, saying, After I am gone, this Brilliance of Wisdom Bodhisattva will achieve insurpassable and perfect enlightenment. He will again be called Brilliance of Wisdom, Buddha. Kasyapa, could that Paragon of the Dragon, Buddha, of the world universal equivalence be anyone else? You must have no doubt. Why, it was no other than Manjushri, the Dharma Prince. Kasyapa, you should now perceive the power of the Surangama Samadhi. It is by its power that the great bodhisattvas manifest entry into the womb, are born, leave home, proceed to the Bodhi tree, sit upon the seat of enlightenment, turn the wondrous wheel of the Dharma, enter into parinirvana, and distribute their relics, without ever dispensing with the Dharma of the bodhisattva, and not entering the final extinction at parinirvana. The elder Mahasyapa then asked Manjushri, "Are you able to perform such rare and difficult things to manifest for sentient beings?" Manjushri said, "Kasyapa, what do you mean? Who created this Mount Gadrukota? From whence did this world derive?" Kasyapa replied, "Manjushri, all the worlds are created out of foam, and they are derived from the causes and conditions of the inconceivable karma of sentient beings." Manjushri said, "All the dharmas also exist in dependence on the causes and conditions of inconceivable karma. I have no power to affect such things. Why? The dharmas are all based on causes and conditions. Since they are without any ultimate master, they will be created at will. If one understands this, such actions as those described above are not difficult. Kasyapa, it will be difficult for someone who does not know of the Four Noble Truths to hear and believe in such things. Once one understands the Four Noble Truths and attains the supernormal powers, however, it is not difficult to hear and believe this." At that time, the world-honored one sent his body up into space to the height of 7 tala trees. Seated in the air, in full lotus position, he emitted a refulgence from his body that illuminated throughout all the immeasurable worlds in the 10 directions. The entire assembly saw immeasurable Buddhas of the 10 directions and heard them from afar, all preaching the Surangama Samadhi, without increase and without decrease. Those Buddhas of the 10 directions also sent their bodies up into space to the height of 7 tall trees. Seated in the air in full lotus position, they emitted refulgences from their bodies that illuminated throughout all the immeasurable worlds in the 10 directions. The sentient beings in those other worlds also saw the body of Sakyamuni Buddha risen up in the air and sitting in full lotus position. Those assemblies listening to the other Buddhas then all took flowers and scattered them over Sakyamuni Buddha from afar, and everyone saw the collections of flowers combine in the air to form a flowered canopy. The bodhisattvas, gods, dragons, yakshas, and gandharvas of this land all scattered flowers about over the other Buddhas, and everywhere flowered canopies were formed over the heads of the Buddhas. Sakyamuni Buddha then reigned in his supernormal ability of levitation, sat down on his original seat, and told Resolute Mind, "This is the power of the supernormal abilities of the Tathagata. The Tathagata has manifested thus in order to increase the merit of sentient beings." When the Buddha manifested his supernormal abilities, 8,000 gods generated the intention to achieve unsurpassable and perfect enlightenment. And also, as the preaching of the Surangama Samadhi was about to end, Resolute Mind and 500 other bodhisattvas attained the Surangama Samadhi. All of them had seen the divine power of the Buddhas of the 10 directions, had attained the brilliance of wisdom in the profound Dharma of the Buddhas, resided on the 10th stage, and received the rank of Buddhas. All the worlds of the trichilocosm shook with the 6 types of vibration, and a great refulgence was released that illuminated throughout all the worlds. 1,000, 10,000 dancers performed at once, and the gods rained various types of flowers down from the sky. The Buddha then told Ananda, "You should accept this Surangama Samadhi, recite it, and preach it extensively for people." Indra King holding Mount Sumeru then said to the Buddha, "World-honored one, there is a limit to Ananda's wisdom and memory. Since Sarvakas follow the teaching of objectified sound, Tia Yin Sheng, lit other sounds, why do you confer this Dharma treasure of this Samadhi on Ananda?" Indra King holding Mount Sumeru then spoke in utter sincerity, "If I will truly be able to disseminate this precious Samadhi, now and in the future, then let all the trees here on Mount Gadrukota appear as Bodhi trees, with a bodhisattva beneath each one." After Indra King holding Mount Sumeru said this, all the trees were seen to be like Bodhi trees, with a bodhisattva visible beneath each and every tree. The Bodhi trees all uttered the following words, "It is as Indra King holding Mount Sumeru has said, truly this person must be able to disseminate this Samadhi widely." At that time the gods, dragons, yakshas, and gandharvas addressed the Buddha in unison, saying, "World-honored one, even if your lifetime were an entire aeon, you should do nothing other than preach the Surangama Samadhi, rather than preaching the Dharma for people using the vehicle of the Sravakas, even though you preach the Dharma for each and every one, so that you are always able to save sentient beings, just as at the time of your first turning of the wheel of the Dharma, It would be better if you were to save people by preaching this Surangama Samadhi. Why, the number of sentient beings who would be saved by the Sravaka vehicle is not even 1 part in 100 of those who would be saved by the Bodhisattva vehicle, nor even 1 part in 100,000, 10,000, 100,000,000, nor even 1 part in any number that could be described metaphorically. Thus does the Surangama Samadhi have immeasurable power to make all the Bodhisattvas achieve their goals and become sufficient in the Dharma of the Buddhas. Resolute Mind Bodhisattva then addressed the Buddha, saying, "World-honored one, what will your lifespan truly be? When will you finally enter nirvana?" The Buddha said, "Resolute Mind, 32,000 Buddha lands to the east of this world there is a country named Ornamentation. There is a Buddha there who is called King of Autonomous Illumination and Ornamentation, as well as by the 10 titles, Tathagata, he who should receive offerings of correct and universal understanding, sufficient in wise practice, well gone, he who understands the world, the unsurpassed one, he who disciplines humans, teacher of humans and gods, and world-honored Buddha. He is now preaching the Dharma. Resolute Mind, my lifespan is the same as that of the Buddha King of Autonomous Illumination and Ornamentation." Resolute Mind asked, "World-honored one, what is the lifespan of this Buddha King of Autonomous Illumination and Ornamentation?" The Buddha told Resolute Mind, "You may go ask him yourself. He will answer you." At that instant, the Buddha imparted his divine power onto Resolute Mind, who through the power of the Surangama Samadhi and through the power of the supernormal abilities deriving from his own good roots, arrived in a single moment in that world known as Ornamentation. Resolute Mind placed his head on that Buddha's feet in worship, walked about him 3 times, and faced that Buddha and addressed him, saying, "World-honored one, what is your lifespan? When will you enter into nirvana?" The Buddha replied, saying, "My lifespan is the same as that of Buddha Sakyamuni. If you wish to know, Resolute Mind, my lifespan is 700 immeasurable aeons. The lifespan of the Buddha Sakyamuni is the same." Feeling great joy, Resolute Mind Bodhisattva then returned to this Saha world. He addressed the Buddha, saying, "World-honored one, that Buddha King of Autonomous Illumination and Ornamentation has a lifespan of 700 immeasurable aeons. He told me your lifespan is the same as his." At that time, Ananda rose from his seat, placed his robe over his right shoulder, held his palms together, and faced the Buddha. He addressed the Buddha, saying, "World-honored one, according to my understanding of the doctrines you have preached, I suggest that it is you who, under a different name, benefits sentient beings in that Ornamentation world." The world-honored one then praised Ananda, saying, "Excellent, excellent, you are able to understand this by the power of the Buddhas. The body of that Buddha is my body. Under a different name do I preach the Dharma and save sentient beings there." Ananda, such autonomous power in the supernormal abilities is entirely the power of the Surangama Samadhi. The Buddha then told Resolute Mind Bodhisattva, "Resolute Mind, because of this, you should understand that my lifespan is 700 immeasurable aeons, after which I will finally enter into nirvana." Hearing that the lifespan of the Buddhas was so inconceivably long, everyone in the great assembly then experienced great joy and attained an experience they had never known before. They addressed the Buddha, saying, "World-honored one, the divine power of the Buddhas is utterly unprecedented. All of their activities, practices, are inconceivable. You manifest such a brief lifespan in this world, yet your real lifespan is 700 immeasurable aeons. World-honored one, we beseech you to allow all sentient beings to have inconceivably long lifespans such as this." The world-honored one then said to Resolute Mind once again, "The demons and demonic people within the countries, cities, towns, villages, and empty forests will not be able to gain mastery of this Surangama Samadhi." He also told Resolute Mind, "Any Dharma master who copies, recites, and explains this Surangama Samadhi should have no fear of humans or non-humans, but will attain 20 forms of inconceivable merit. What are these 20 forms of inconceivable merit? They are inconceivable wisdom, inconceivable sagacity, inconceivable expedient means, inconceivable discrimination, inconceivable wisdom in the Dharma, Fa Ming, inconceivable dharanis, inconceivable teachings, Fa Men, inconceivable memory of anything at will, inconceivable power in the supernormal abilities, inconceivable discrimination of the words of sentient beings, inconceivable profound understanding of the longings of sentient beings, inconceivable attainment of the vision of the Buddhas, inconceivable hearing of the dharmas, inconceivable teaching of sentient beings, inconceivable autonomous mastery of samadhi, inconceivable creation of pure lands, inconceivable most wondrous physical form, inconceivable autonomous mastery of merit, inconceivable cultivation of the perfections, and inconceivable attainment of the Dharma of the Buddhas without regression. These are the 20. Resolute mind, anyone who copies or recites the Surangama Samadhi will attain these 20 forms of inconceivable merit. For this reason, resolute mind, anyone who wants to attain any of the benefits in this lifetime or in the next should copy, recite, explain, and practice according to this Surangama Samadhi. Resolute mind, if good men and women seeking the enlightenment of Buddhahood and engaged in the 1,000, 10,000 aeons of diligent cultivation of the 6 perfections hear this Surangama Samadhi, are able to accept it in faith without becoming discouraged, and are not upset or frightened by it, the blessings accrued from this will surpass those of anything else, and they will rapidly attain insurpassable and perfect enlightenment. How much more so for those who hear it, accept it, recite it, practice according to it, and explain it for people. Any bodhisattva who wishes to hear the inconceivable Dharma of the Buddhas, without being upset or frightened, who wishes to realize his own understanding of all the Dharmas of the Buddhas, without being dependent on any other teaching, should cultivate and practice this Samadhi. If you wish to hear a Dharma you have not heard before, to accept the Dharma in faith and without disagreement, you should hear this Surangama Samadhi. When this Surangama Samadhi was preached, innumerable sentient beings generated the intention to achieve insurpassable and perfect enlightenment. Twice that number were able to reside in the stage of non-regression, and twice that number attained the forbearance of the birthlessness of all dharmas. 18,000 bodhisattvas attained the Surangama Samadhi, and 18,000 monks and nuns, because they were not influenced by the dharmas, achieved the emancipation of the extinction of impurities, lit outflows, and attained arhatship. 26,000 laymen and laywomen attained the purity of the Dharma eye, with regard to the dharmas, and 30 Nayutas of gods attained the rank of sage. After the Buddha had preached this sutra, Dharma Prince Manjushri, Resolute Mind Bodhisattva, and all the great bodhisattvas, Shravakas, and great disciples, and all the gods, dragons, Gandharvas, Asuras, and people of the world, having heard what the Buddha had preached, joyously believed and accepted it. Here ends the Surangama Samadhi Sutra.